Welcome to Monday Night Live, the weekly training that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth.
Welcome aboard, everybody, particularly to the guest students. If you're, this class is open. It doesn't matter what brokerage you're in, and we even have investors in the class sometimes, as well as agents. So we don't actually have anything to sell. We don't recruit any of that kind of stuff. If it happens, it's um, because it's part of the context of what we're going over. But definitely a safe zone, and we welcome you to invite other people too. So for tonight, Christy, welcome aboard. I'm so glad you're here. It's good to see you again.
You
And
too. Thank you.
yeah, so if you'd like, we can go ahead and get started. You've got the microphone. So again, people are on from multiple brokerages, agents and non-agents alike, mostly interested in investing, but not everybody does. So really anything that, like when you and I met for the podcast, um, I think anything that you share is gonna be valuable, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
An honor. Thank you. I'm glad to be here with every one of you. So thank you, Gary, and thank you all for sharing your precious time with us tonight. So this is awesome.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, you're also in Florida. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, just north of Orlando. It's a little stormy out from this hurricane that's just about done rolling through. So we're glad that she was a little one.
Yeah, I'm not there now, but my friends in Inglewood have they were the main road, but actually most of the roads have been flooded, but the one out on Minnesota Key is definitely underwater. I saw pictures of cars that were up to the roof.
I
But
saw that.
Andre, yeah, Andre, you okay where you are?
Yeah, we need a lot of wind, rain, but we're fine.
Okay, all right. Well, Christy, if you want to go ahead and kick things off, if you want to give people some background, that would help give us some context, and then we can go into um, the subject matter.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that. So a little bit about me. I've been in the real estate and finance industries for 23 years. It's about the only thing I know, professionally speaking anyway. So a few of my past roles, I had been a realtor right out of high school. As soon as I graduated high school, I got my real estate license, and then guess what I was lacking? Confidence. At 18 years old, I had no idea what I was doing. I don't even think I could spell amortization. I'm not quite sure how I even passed the state exam, but I did. Took a 1 week, 63-hour crash course. It was crazy. So lacking confidence and skills, I went into property management. So I did that for a couple of years. I worked as an assistant to a broker of 2 large locations down in Southwest Florida. I became a short sale negotiator, did that for about 4 years, helped nearly 500 families avoid short sales. And Gina and I could talk for days about the fun hold times and the music that makes you just want to stick a pin in your eyeball. It was terrible. I've been a realtor for a number of years, and I became a loan officer in 2016. So for the last 8+ years have been financing, and I'm a mortgage broker. So I work with all different kinds of lenders. And what I love about that is the variety and the flexibility and the solution creation that we get to do inside of that. So it's not just first-time home buyers and veterans. It's a lot of, let's figure out what this looks like and what's possible for you. So I've seen all different angles of it. I have been a real estate investor myself. My very first real estate transaction ever, even when I was renting a home, was a wholesale deal. And I didn't know it was a wholesale deal. I wanted a home, and I didn't know if I wanted it for myself or to use it as an investment tool. And I was writing letters. Now, guys, this was in the 90s, but I was writing letters to people who just looked like they left their home. And this lady called me from some other state, and she said, yeah, I keep getting these code enforcement letters from the county because I'm not keeping up with mowing my lawn. And I said, well, I can help you with that. So I asked her, I knew at 23 years old, maybe 20 years old, that the first person who says a number loses. So that somebody had taught me along the line. So I asked her what she wanted. She wanted $25,000 for this little waterfront home. And I went to the only person in my life that I knew had cash money. And he said, I don't think you know what you're sitting on here. I said, yeah, Yeah, I do. Are you in? That's all I had to do. We split the funds. It was a lot of fun. And from that day on, I was just kind of hooked into
Mhm.
just all of the amazing sides of real estate. And there's just no limit. There's just no limit to how to work it, how to work in it. It's really exciting. So whether you're an investor or a realtor, I hope that you leave with a couple of nuggets this evening. What I wanted to share with you is spotting hidden opportunities in real estate. And right now, it's quite an interesting place that we're at. I keep an eye on the month over month numbers. I also compare it to where we were last year. I also compare my closings to where I have been the last couple of years. I do believe that 2020 through 22 was probably an anomaly and will likely not have 6.8 million transactions nationally a year. And right now
Mhm.
we're on pace at 3.8. So pretty big swings in those numbers. Now,
Mhm.
when it comes to spotting opportunities that may not be visible right up front, what are the things that we're looking for? So when I'm training new realtors, I teach them about the D's. If you've ever done any research or learned about the C's in financing, you know, credit and capital and collateral,
Mhm.
I like to focus on the D's inside of real estate. So I'll rattle them off for you. I encourage you
Mhm.
to write them down, and you might just find a little new niche for yourself on something that maybe you just hadn't considered. So divorce is obviously a really big reason why people have to sell. So they might be in
Mhm.
love with their housing payment, they might be in love with their 2.75 interest rate, but if they're not in love with their partner, they're going to be
Mhm.
forced to sell. So I was doing a lot of research. I'm a certified real estate specialist in divorce. And
Mhm.
I just wanted to see some of the updated numbers. And just so you know, first marriages that end, it's about 50%. And then it goes up and then even up. Second and third divorces or marriages wind up in a higher level of divorce. And
Mm.
so when we think about, well, 50% of marriages end, that's actually only for first marriages. It's even a higher percentage for second or third or fourth or fifth. And I
Mm.
read recently, and the data was from 2023, so it's a little bit aged, but I think it's still fresh enough to be able to quote it. 62% of families that are experiencing divorce own real estate.
Mm.
That's
Wow.
a big deal, friends. It's
Yeah.
a very big deal. Now, if you can't handle drama and emotions, if you can't
Mhm.
handle certain personalities that are going through some of their toughest moments in their life, I would not encourage you to chase after this market. However, you might be able to, as an investor, sneak on in there and say, listen, can't figure out what realtor you're going to list it with, can't figure out a sales price, can't figure out how to get the bum out of the house so you can sell it. Let me help you. Let me make it quick and easy. Make sure that you guys can move on well from here. So there's opportunity there. Of course, death is an obvious one for opportunities in real estate. So if you haven't partnered with a really great probate or estate planning attorney, I really would encourage you to. Also, those
Mhm.
estate clearouts is a really great place to go and make some friends. And garage sales. A lot of times the family is selling off what they can through a garage sale. So keep an eye on it that way. Diapers is my next D,
Mhm.
right? A lot of families were just expanding when they were forced to be at home through those pandemic years. So you've got a lot of people right now who aren't experiencing the highest quality of life because they are
Mhm.
holding on dearly to their 3% interest rate, but they've also got a 3 bedroom and they might need like a 4 or 5 bedroom home. So there's
Yeah.
opportunity there. And I think that some families are just going to say, you know what, I've had enough. We're going to figure this out, but we need more space. And then downsizing. A lot of people right now are finding opportunities and reasons why they need to get out of that larger home. The kids are off and running. They don't need that 4 and 5 bedroom house with the cost of where utilities are. Property taxes have changed so much. Homeowners insurance, at least in the state of Florida, is just like insane, right, Andre? Is it like it's just
Mhm.
insane. So I know we're not the only state for that, but a lot of people are saying, you know what, that condo on the beach is sounding better and better, having
Mhm.
2 bedrooms instead of 4 or 5. Um, I do. I
Mhm.
know it doesn't start with an with a D until we get to the second word, but I do. Marriage is a really great reason why people are buying homes. I'm working with a couple right now. They are
Mhm.
both finishing up their divorce, and they are both getting ready to get married to one another. So there's a lot of moving parts. Lots. It's
Mhm.
a lot of fun. I worked with more
Yeah.
first-time home buyers because of a new dog than for any other reason. It wasn't because of career and income or finishing college or marriage. It's the golden doodle. You get this cute, sweet little puppy who's now 80 pounds, 6 months old, rambunctious. You come home from work and you have to go up and down those stairs of that third-story apartment. That won't last for long, friends. So
Mhm.
keep an eye on dogs. Those who add a dog to their family is a great opportunity.
Mhm.
And then of the last two, I've got displacement. So displacement could be for a lot of different reasons. Right now, if you're not seeing it, you're going to start seeing it in your awareness pretty quick. A lot of
Mhm.
economic factors that are changing a lot of things. We've got job relocations, job displacement, and lifestyle changes. There's just a lot of people who are into one thing and now they're a totally different person over these last few years. Just has really changed some things in our core. And so I
Mhm.
think I see a lot of people just choosing different than what they have before. And this last one is the biggie. And this is the one that is going to punch us all in the face. If you don't know anybody in your life that is experiencing this, it's just a matter of months, I think, at this point. But consumer debt is just at an incredibly disgusting place, uh,
Mhm.
for all the reasons. I don't need to list it for you. But consumer debt is just strangling a lot of people. So as I'm calling my past clients and checking in and seeing what's going on and learning about their family size growing, those kinds of things, the conversations are actually very challenging for a lot of
Mhm.
people because they love their 2.75, 3%, 4% interest rate. They love their
Mhm.
payment. They're madly in love with their payment. They have credit card balances that they're moving forward. They're paying 29% interest on credit cards.
Mhm.
The most common car payment right now starts with a one. In other words, 1,000 something.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It is a lot. So I have a
Yeah.
podcast. It's called Credit Coaching by Christy. And I try to get a new episode out bi-weekly, which means I'm doing a lot of research, data scrubbing. And there's nothing more fun than going to the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau website and reading
Mhm.
some of the data, reading some of the reports from our Federal Reserve. It's a Friday night, let me tell you. So it's scary to just know some of the numbers. The amount of debt right now is obviously at
Mhm.
an all-time high, but
Mhm.
of those people who have a credit card, many people don't own credit cards. There's actually millions of people in our country that are invisible as far as they just don't even have a credit profile at all, which means no credit score. But there are the report that I just read from the Fed stated
Mhm.
that 48% of people who have a credit card are moving a balance forward each month.
Mhm.
In other words, they are not transactional where they just buy their gas and groceries, pay it off, and they're using their credit cards for rewards. Unfortunately, there's an expanding amount of credit card holders that aren't in the
Mhm.
position physically to be able to pay off that credit card.
Mhm.
So I share that with you because that's going to be the pop that goes the weasel. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be forced to sell their home because, quite frankly, it's their only asset. Let me give you a quick example. I've got somebody
Yeah.
right now who's repositioning in a home, and they had to take $4,000 out of their home equity line for an escrow deposit, which screws up a lot of things for a lender, by the way. It makes things
Mhm.
difficult. They had to take out $4,000 on their home equity line because they had $300 in their bank account. I'm not judging, I'm not hating, I'm saying this is the
Yeah.
reality for millions and
Yeah.
millions of.
Mm.
What do you
Yeah.
think? You agree with all
Well,
that so far?
yeah. Well, the thing is too, if what's interesting, if been looking at the news starting late last week and today, you're noticing the stock market, actually not just in the United States, but all over the world is I mean, the Nikkei, the Nikkei, however you pronounce it, Japan, had its worst day since 1987, that October, whatever that day was. That that's a long time. You know, that's a big drop. So it's just, no economy is going to last forever. I mean, no up cycle is going to last forever, but neither is a down cycle. It's cyclical. It just goes around. It goes up and down. I used to worry about that kind of stuff. I don't worry anymore. It's not because I've got, $10 billion in the bank. It's because I've been through it enough times. I realize, it's not time to panic. It's time to prepare.
That's
So
right.
when you understand what the ramifications are and the consequences, you can prepare for them. In our business, there's going to be opportunity. Properties are going to change hands. This is the one thing I love about real estate. It never actually goes away. It just changes hands. And that's where we come in. Our job is to help bring together a buyer and seller. That's what brokerage is.
That's right.
So if you learn to relax and position yourself, um, you can do quite well in these market shifts. So sorry, I didn't mean to ramble so long
No,
there.
that's okay. Yeah, and I've got some
Yeah.
ideas around that, but I saw Gina has something incredible to share.
Ooh,
Mhm.
did you guys see the newest chart that came from Mike Delpreet, who, if you don't know who he is, he does a ton of cool graphics and insights into the real estate world as a whole. He's not EXP, he's just overall, but he did a graphic that talked about mentioning debt in the business reports that come out from all the big, what is it, the big 8 or whatever companies down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 companies. And
Open door.
pardon me?
Open
Yeah.
door. Yes.
Yeah. EXP, basically, we're a no debt company. We basically have no debt, which is super important moving forward. And people don't understand why this is really important. So far, this year or over the last 12 months, I can't remember which one it is, but 10% of the agents moved from one brokerage to another, 10%. And as we have more companies that have the higher debt load, where are they going to get their money? There's only one place. They're going to get it from their agents' transactions. That's the only place they have to go get it. So it's going to start affecting more and more agents. And when times get tough, agents move. 3.8 million in transactions across America. That's low. That's really low. We're normally 5.5 to 6, somewhere in that range, sometimes as high as 6.5. So transactions are down and brokerages are starting to charge more, but we don't have debt, so we don't have to. So we're really primed right now. We have the right business model for the right time. So I know I deployed to your D, by the way. I love that list. I love that list. That's a great list of the Ds, the big Ds. So thank you for
said deploy.
I put deployed. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about that. That's a good idea. Thank you. All right. So knowing that and what you're keeping an eye out for, and for some newer realtors or even investors, you may not have really known what kind of categories to look for, but that's where the biggest transitions will happen, is out of this list. So some ideas, and I want to kind of share this with you from a lender's perspective, just to have some ideas on what's possible for restoring, renovating, just looking at things through a different lens. When you see some buildings, I want you to also see what kind of possibility or opportunity might be there as well. But some of the investors that we're working with here, not even locally, we can work with investors all over the country, are doing some really cool things, repurposing some properties. So for instance, some of them are repurposing some existing buildings. Sometimes you have to go to your permitting and zoning departments to get some zones changed, but some of them are just fall under that mixed use category. So I've got somebody right now who's converting a warehouse into loft apartments, which I thought was a lot of fun. It's helping out with the shortage of housing, and a lot of people don't need a big 4-bedroom home. Some people just really literally need a flat, like how they're called overseas, right? Just little loft apartments. And I saw in one of the downtown areas here, they're turning an old historic building into a little boutique hotel. And so I thought that was a neat feature, something that it's just a little bit different, being able to see something just through a different lens, seeing a different possibility or a different life for it, could just really bring some incredible opportunities. So it's this old, dilapidated, historic, beautiful brick building with plenty of parking spots. It's right in the heart of downtown, and I think it's going to do really, really well for itself for the people who just want that walkability factor. So I have a feeling when it's all said and done, he's not going to have to run a hotel. He's going to be able to sell that baby and make a nice deep profit from it.
Mhm.
If you live near colleges and into residential real estate, consider some student housing. So we've got, eightplexes, quadplexes all around, but I'm seeing some people get really creative with what kind of homes they're looking at and renovating for the purpose of student housing. So they're just needing a little kitchen, so it doesn't have to be some big crazy designer kitchen, because most of the students aren't at home cooking on a chef's stove. So we got a little kitchen. He actually suggested putting in two pretty big refrigerators, which I thought was quite brilliant. So that way everybody has their own space inside the fridge. And he said that he's looking particularly for properties that are 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, which is really, so whoever lives in the primary bedroom pays a little bit more. But he can repurpose that dining room area into a bedroom if needed, because a lot of times they just don't need a formal dining room. And he said he likes to pursue for potential people to rent. He likes to market it where he wants a group that's coming in together. And he has a pretty strict application process. He wants people who are in certain kinds of majors, even, because if you've got just his rules, not mine, if you've got somebody who's going into biology or science, they're probably fully focused on their studies, as opposed to somebody who says, I think I'm going to go to college because it's the right thing I'm supposed to do. I'm 21 and here I am, and it might cause some parties, right? Again, keep an eye out for those mixed use. We're working with a couple people right now that are doing pad split. Very interesting, but let me just give you a quick little warning. Most lenders do not like the pad split model. They like the shared living areas. They don't like the fact that it's just going to be all bedrooms. So a workaround is that the last room to get redone into a bedroom is the living room. And before finalizing that, we have the appraiser come in for the end loan. So we'll have a renovation loan available for you for short-term interest only to build it out towards the pad split. And then we'll have a final end loan for you. It's going to be a fixed interest rate, right? And long-term loan. So we'll get that appraiser out there before the living room is transferred over into a bedroom. So there's still that shared living expense. And then after that, they can finish that off. Subject to, I don't know enough. I know enough to be dangerous, but not deadly. And I know y'all have had conversations about it, but keep your eyes open for subject to opportunities, sub to, and then assumable mortgages. Here's something I want to share with you that hopefully it's just something that you just keep in the back of your brain here. Assumable mortgages still typically keeps that original owner of the loan on the hook. So if, heaven forbid, that person that assumes that mortgage doesn't make those payments and forecloses, that original owner of it can be on the hook. So we want to really pay attention to what that lender has in writing, but a lot of them, that liability still lands on that first person. Now, if it's a VA loan, you don't have to be a veteran to assume a VA loan, but it keeps that veteran on the hook for that entitlement. So most veterans want to have another veteran assume the loan. Now, here's the kicker. This is kind of the problem in our industry on the financing side right now when it comes to assumable mortgages. There are a lot of people that need to wiggle out of their home that they've been in for maybe a couple of years longer than what they desired to and move on to the next home. And to get top dollar for their sale, they want an assumable mortgage offered. However, that new buyer has to come up with that difference, that cash difference on the mortgage amount they're assuming and the sales price. There might be somebody out there, but I've got to tell you, I've talked to at least 20 different lenders that offer second mortgages, and all of them say that they don't want to be behind an assumable mortgage. It's literally written in their guidelines. And I've talked to a couple of loan servicers of assumable mortgages, and they're saying, we'll consider a second mortgage as long as it's an assumable second mortgage. So that's really where the problem lies, is that we don't really have that cash difference. So unless you have a buyer that has that cash difference, that assumable mortgage might just be a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then keep your eye open. Again, that consumer debt, that's going to be the crippling factor right now that are going to force people to have to sell their home so that they can pay off their debt, because they're one domino away from it being a toppling game. If you can't make your car payment or your credit card payment, I've got somebody I just spoke to a couple of days ago, their minimum credit card payment is $900 and some change. It was like $914 or $918. And the majority of that, the majority of that was going to interest. Now, she just had a baby, and the baby's 8 months old. And she said, Christy, I woke up one morning and I had a $30,000 balance on my credit card. Like, I don't know how that happened. And I would imagine if you've got a newbie in your household and you're buying diapers and formula and all those other things, how that could happen pretty quick. But there's a lot of people walking around with tens of thousands of dollars in credit card debt. And that's going to be the thing that topples us. So I'd love to open it up to questions, thoughts, role play. We can throw out a script. We can answer some questions on something that I've shared. I'd love to get a little bit deeper on a couple of these topics.
Well, I love the whole concept of assumable mortgages. I mean, I've done them before. I've sold a house, let my mortgage be assumed, and I've bought one doing the same thing. Nowadays, the newer mortgages, the way they're written, at least the ones from traditional banks, they're qualified assumptions. You have to qualify just like you will qualify for a brand new mortgage, you know. And then in those cases they do release the liability from the seller. But private mortgages, you're right. A lot of times they're not going to release the original owner from liability if they let their mortgage be assumed. Or even banking and lending institutions that are not more mainstream. But here's what I'm getting to. The question is, obviously prices went up a lot, just like interest rates did. So you're right, there could be an opportunity to assume a mortgage with a 3% rate, but you've got to come up with, maybe 30% of the value to give the people. And like you said, a lot of lenders don't want to make a loan to make up that difference, the equity gap, and the equity there. So you have to come up, you either have to have the cash or be able to borrow from other means. You can borrow privately, for example. But what I want to get to is like the scripting and the dialogue. So like investors have no problem with these conversations, and agents who've been around and done these before know what to say. But for there's a lot of new agents. I mean, every year I forget the percentage, but I think it's like every 2 years, the percentage of agents that are been up 2 years or less is the majority. you know, but Christy, what do you tell those agents? If you want to do an example, we could pick somebody here to be a guinea pig and go through that conversation, a dialogue when consumer B is approaching consumer A about assuming their mortgages, and there's realtors involved, and some realtors don't even know this stuff. They're like, well, no, you can't do that. I was told you can't assume mortgages. But there's a lot of dialogue that has to be taken care of there.
There is, and I'd like to educate, all of you here that are investing in yourself to make sure that you're learning these tips and tricks so that you can show up as a professional. If you're looking at potentially listing a property, that would be the very first thing I would ask your seller is do you know if your loan is assumable? And when they say no, because there's a really good chance they don't know, ask them to call their loan servicer and to get it in writing. Send it in writing. The other thing you should be asking is there a DPA, a down payment assistance program? Did you get solar panels that were financed or leased? Do you have a home equity line of credit? Because a lot of people tapped into that home equity line of credit, and they have been living off of it for the last couple of years. But it's so crazy to me, the amount of people that don't associate their HELOC with needing to be paid off with their home. So if you're starting to put together tonight, it's like, yep, you've been through that. Karen, you've been through that, right? So now you're putting together this loose net sheet for them, and you think that you've got this big fat down payment for the next home, only to find out there's an $80,000 home equity line or a $50,000 solar panel debt that is attached to that, as collateral. And UCC out there, you can't move forward without having it paid off. One other thing I want to say before we get into scripting, just because as it gets later in the day and the older I am, I forget things unless I say it or write it down. So let me share this with you. There's a lot of people that have purchased over the last couple of years in the anticipation of refinancing when rates go down. Unless our government puts into play a new set of guidelines. The guidelines as they stand right now is on a conventional mortgage, you have to have 10% equity for a rate term. So not taking cash out, just doing a rate term refinance, you have to have 10% equity. So let's just call it 12 to 13% if you're going to roll in closing costs, which you can on a refinance. There's a lot of people that have purchased over the last, 18 months that don't have that kind of equity unless they already put down a large down payment. I've also worked with a number of households that had used down payment assistance programs. Like in the state of Florida, we have Hometown Heroes. It gave 5% of the loan amount all the way up to $35,000. If rates go down, when rates go down, and they come to their lender and they want to do a refinance, VA and FHA allows a streamlined version that doesn't require an appraisal, doesn't require income. It's easy, it's fast, it's lovely. It doesn't include paying off that second mortgage. So we've got to find out, is that second mortgage going to resubordinate in second place? Is it going to be allowed to behind that streamline? So there's gonna be a lot of people that will be under the belief that they can refinance and may not be able to because they may not have proper equity. I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Kay, if you want to unmute yourself, feel free. I just clicked on the ask to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't quite understand what you were saying when you said the second mortgage won't refinance, and you talked about it right after you talked about the down payment assistance program. So is the down payment assistance program going to create a problem when they go to refinance? Is it considered like a loan, or can you clarify that for me?
I sure can. Thank you for that question, Kay. I appreciate the opportunity to clarify it. A lot of down payment assistance programs are not grants. They're actually a second mortgage or a second lien. We refer to them as a silent second mortgage if there's not a monthly payment on it. So a lot of people will forget that they even had it there because there's not a monthly payment required. So let me use Hometown Heroes, that is part of the state of Florida, as an example. Let's say you had $15,000 towards your down payment and your closing costs. It's actually recorded as a second mortgage, that $15,000. There's not a monthly payment. There's not interest accruing against it at 0%. However, when you refinance, and this is what I've told everybody, when you buy a new home, sell this home, and if you sell this home, refinance your loan or turn it into an investment property, it has to be paid off. So
Wow.
The way it was presented to us was that they're really not interested in resubordinating behind a different loan with a different loan servicer, because you don't even get a monthly statement for that. It's kind of attached to the loan servicer that they have by choice. And their choice that they have as a loan servicer is called Lakeview Loan Servicing. So if you do a refinance, that new company you refinance with is going to hold that new mortgage. And so they're going to require that second to be paid off. But they're literally, I mean, there's $100 million that they're working through each year. So we're down to, gosh, 40 million left, I think, already in a month and 5 days. It just came
Is
back.
there interest accruing on that?
No, there's not interest accruing on that second lien.
Okay.
But my point being is, if rates were to go down to say 5.25%, and people
Mhm.
go, great, I can stay in this home that I do love, and I'm going to refinance to get a payment I can be comfortable with, there's going to be a lot of people across this great country that are not going to be in a position, unless the government creates new guidelines through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that won't be in a position to refinance. They may not have enough equity in the home, or they have a second mortgage behind that VA or FHA loan that won't resubordinate. It has to be paid off in a refinance. At that time, I see this as an opportunity. So when I spotlight this, if they're not able to refinance, and who wants to stay in a 7? I've even had a couple people close to 8% last year in October. It got a little bit crazy. If they're not able to refinance, then help them sell that home. They may not be able to draw a lot of equity out of it, but they only need 5% down on their next home. If they're going to sell this home and buy their next home, they only need a 5% down payment on a conventional mortgage, because they're no longer a first-time home buyer. And you can do another FHA. It's not like I had an FHA, so I can't do it again. And same with VA. You can rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
What kind of credit score do they need on those two?
Conventional, the minimum is 620. On FHA, the minimum is 580 if you want a minimum down payment. Now, if you have 10% down, you can actually go down to a 500 credit score. The rates
Wow.
are ugly. I'll
I
just be
bet.
honest. Yeah. And then VA, typically I see most lenders wanting a 580 or higher. But if
Thank you.
if somebody's not able to refinance, help them sell that home and buy a home with the new going market interest rate, which will hopefully be lower than where we've been for quite some time. And now you get 2 transactions out of that and help somebody reposition very, very well. Janai, I see you, love. How are you doing?
I'm doing really great. So my question is the hometown heroes. I think you also have to ask them what are those terms, because sometimes, much like a grant situation, it's relational to how many years they've been in the house, or when, if that.
Janai, can you check the volume on your mic? Because I can barely, was it just me or anybody else? Same thing was,
Yeah, she was a little distant. I heard what you're saying, though. If you just want me to repeat it for clarity.
I couldn't even hear.
Yeah, she was saying that some of those second mortgages that starts off as, their down payment assistance, some of them are forgivable over time, and that is accurate. Hometown Heroes is not one of those. A Florida Bond is not one of those. So a lot of the state programs aren't, but some programs are, like the SHIP program. It's an acronym. I can't remember exactly what it all stands for right now. Subsidized Housing Incentive Program, I think is what it is. A lot of those are forgivable 20% a year over 5 years. So if you sold it in year 3, then you'd only owe on that remaining 40%, right? So yes, that is the case for some programs, but a lot of them out there are not that. Gina, did you have a question? No.
Nope,
Okay.
I'm good.
Janai, did that address what you were sharing?
Yeah.
Okay.
and then I think Anna had a chat also. That looks like there may just be a clarification for Kay. Anna, if you want to unmute yourself, please feel free.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the awesome topic. I really appreciate it. I was just clarifying one of Kay's questions, and correct me if I'm wrong, Christy, but there are some programs that are issued as grants without any stipulations for the length of time you have them. So you'd have to be on the lookout for the type of DPA program that was used because the terms do vary. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that contribution. That's very accurate. And some of them, I mean, I've got one lender that the day it becomes a first mortgage, the down payment assistance that we had, it follows behind an FHA. So FHA requires 96.5% down payment. They'll cover the other 3.5%. It is a higher interest rate on that first mortgage, but the day it becomes a loan, that second is gone. So that means we could do that streamlined FHA refinance that I was talking to you about when rates do go down and there's not a second mortgage to have to pay off. So if we have an idea that, hey, rates are probably going to be temporarily at this space and then it's going to be lower in the future. Now, let's talk really quick about interest rates. There are 3 different kinds of interest rates, and most people don't understand this. So I'm going to just do a high-level overview so I don't bore you to death. So there is the Fed funds rate, and that is set by our Federal Reserve, which, by the way, is not a federal entity. They are the central bank. There's 12 districts around our country, and they just came out 2 weeks ago saying that 5 of their districts are experiencing flat or declining economic feels. So that's an interesting, admission to the economic climate. But the Fed sets the Fed funds rate. The Fed funds rate is the interest rate that banks borrow money from banks. It's called an overnight rate. And right now it's at 5.25 to 5.5. That's right. It's not just one interest rate. It's a little range. And there's insinuating, suggesting, proposing that they'll likely do a 0.25% drop in September. If they don't in September, then there's really high probability that they will in December, like really high probability. They were raising those rates to slow down inflation. So the Fed funds rate is why banks can give you a lot of interest right now on your savings account and money markets and CDs, but that's also why car loans, home equity lines, and credit card APRs are higher because the prime index rate moves absolutely in tandem. So every time the Fed funds rate comes up or goes down, same with the prime index rate. So the prime index rate is set by the big banks. So all of the decision makers, CEOs for Chase and Bank of America and all these guys, they essentially decide that they'll follow what the Fed funds rate does. So there's Fed funds rate, which is what everybody's talking about, but they think that's mortgage rates, and it's not. There's the prime index rate, which is what sets short-term money interest rates. So think home equity lines of credit, APRs on credit cards, and car loans. And then the third is the 10-year treasury. And that treasury yield is what sets the marker for 30-year, for long-term fixed rate mortgages. So adjustable rate mortgages can be on a couple of different, we've got like the LIBOR and a couple of different indexes. But when it comes to 30-year fixed rate mortgage, keep an eye on what the 10-year is doing. Now on Thursday rates look sexier than they've been in quite some time, weeks at least. And Friday was just as great. The market was thrilled that the chairman of the Fed said, hey, we're looking at cutting interest rates. It was kind of baked in. They were anticipating it, but they loved it. And then Gary, to your point today, man, what's happening overseas in some of their markets just erased any gains that we had. And I got 2 midday price changes for prices worsening. So usually we have new rates that come out every single day, kind of like when the stock market opens up. It's a new market, it's fresh and shiny and new every single day. And that's typically where the rate is for that day. It doesn't move too much. There's a little bit of movement, but nothing that would really force a lender to reprice the cost for the loans. Well, we had 2 midday price changes, which means there was some pretty big headlines that were moving the needle. And it was both, unfortunately, for the worse. So I think there's going to be some volatility over the next couple of weeks and couple of months. It's going to be interesting. And if you really love politics and money, look historically what has happened just prior to and just after the presidential. It moves the needle for sure. So I think it's gonna be an interesting second half of the year.
Mhm.
It's a vote of confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've got some surprises. I mean, I guess I'd say that um, mildly, because I just learned to expect it. You can never, whatever you think is going to happen is probably not what's going to happen exactly that way. There's going to be some things that we're not expecting are going to happen. I'm guessing. I mean, look at this year. Look at the last several months. Holy cow.
Right.
You know,
Well, I'll
so
tell you this, Fred, if you type in Fred in your search bar for Google, it will bring you to St. Louis Federal Reserve. They have amazing little tidbits of information there. You can look at all different kinds of charts of what's going on. I think of all of the districts, they do the best for what we look at in our industries for the data. So I would tell you to check out Fred. And also, I use the snot out of LinkedIn. When I log into LinkedIn, on the top right-hand corner, there is basically the trending headlines, and it's not diluted by media trying to be very biased about headlines. So I would
right.
encourage you to log into LinkedIn and keep an eye out there. They're constantly talking about some economic moves that different businesses are doing. When business annual reports come out, when their quarterly earnings report comes out, when there's an announcement of layoffs, when some big tech helps somebody do something, it's there. So that's literally how I start off my day. Karen, do you do the same thing? You're kind of nodding your head. Do you keep an eye on that as well? No? Okay.
There's a lot of information there, so
Yeah.
sometimes it's interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, LinkedIn has a lot of economic data, and you wouldn't think about it, where you
Mhm.
just go to see what other business people are doing, but there's some great headlines to keep track on.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to role play or work on a script that maybe you are thinking about something? Janai, is that you?
I have a question.
Sure. I can hear you and I can repeat your question.
Okay, so my question is, with being a one that is a broker, mortgage broker, I have two properties and questions all the time coming up with investments, and and especially up here in the greater Northwoods, we don't have that great of lending track records with investment companies, like mortgage lenders that know how to work with short-term rentals, or how to work with people who are, unless we go to a community grant foundation or something. So are there lenders that you have that you can recommend for that?
When you say the lenders that I have, do you mean that have like grants or something like that for investors, or just lending programs?
Lending programs just for short-term rentals, or to turn, like you said, some of the, boutique hotel situations, those kind of lenders.
Great question. So it is different. Financing is a whole different world if you're looking at residential versus commercial. So let me just address both of those. When it's residential and it's short-term investing, unless that property, the owner, the seller, has records that they can present of the profits that were generated because of it being a short-term investment property, then let's just presume they didn't keep records or they're not going to show it. It would be nearly impossible to uncover, discover, or figure out what somebody could profit off of a short sale. Now, you need to, as an investor, right? You should have your ways and means of trying to figure out what you think this property will yield you. But what typically happens is we go off of the rent schedule. It's a form called the 1007, and it's an additional form inside of the standard appraisal. So a standard appraisal is for the collateral of the home, condition, value, those kinds of things. But this additional form will say what fair market rent is for long-term investment. So basically that appraiser goes into MLS and looks at what's presented on MLS. If there's a lot of handshake agreements and for rent by owner, and you were able to provide that information, that would help show higher numbers. I would encourage you to do that depending on your local market there, but they're going to look at annual rental income. And so if it's $3,000 a month, but you think short-term rentals would actually yield more like $5,000 a month, there's really no other way to be able to remedy that shortage. So we can use 75% of what the appraiser says is fair market rent. And that will help offset that housing payment for that lender. Now, there is a loan program, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's called DSCR, Debt Service Coverage Ratio. Most lenders for the best interest rate want it to be 1-for-1. So if the housing payment is $3,000 a month, all in, including HOA, insurances, all of it, they want the fair market rent on an annual basis to also be $3,000 a month. We can go down to 75%. And I actually have one lender that will do no ratio, but you're paying through the teeth on these interest rates. And then it cuts into your cash flow. So we've got to weigh out, does this make financial sense to do it? And I am so good at using my mortgage calculator. I can just, if we rattled off numbers, I could help you figure it out in 3 minutes or less. So we can do something like that if you have a potential property and you want to see if it works. Now, if we're talking about commercial, we're gonna, you know, in the boutique hotel situation, he's got a fix and flip loan. So he doesn't intend on keeping this. He's marketing it right now as a boutique, and he's showing some renderings of what it's all going to look like. So fix and flip loan is going to be temporary. It's going to be 12 to 18 months in most cases, interest only, no prepayment penalty. And there's not an end loan. So as soon as that baby's done being renovated, you either got to sell that and pay off that loan, or get a new long-term mortgage on it. So we've got both ways ready to go. So, but if you are looking for just a standard purchase loan on an investment property, a couple of things in the commercial world: how much experience do they have as an investor? Because the more experience that they have, the less they have to put down. And also the property type. I'm working right now trying to find a really great loan program for a church. And I didn't realize how difficult it would be to finance a church. But think about this. If something happens to the pastor, which is why a lot of people are there, the priest or whoever the, you know, Heavenly Father is there running the show, if that person leaves, there's a good part of the congregation that might go with them. And the other thing is, nobody wants to foreclose on a religious facility organization. Nobody wants to do that. So there's a lot of risk in that. And then also, is that property something that could be repurposed for something else, right? Does this church own this little warehouse space, or is it like it's got a little steeple and it could only ever be a church? So there's going to be all different kinds of parameters, but there's all different kinds of lenders, and some of them have some really neat specialty programs, from tiny house communities, building those out, mobile home parks, to financing churches and everything in between. Thomas, thank you for putting in there that historical presidential elections move the markets down. That's good to know. Sam, I saw
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hi, Sam.
Hi,
Hey.
thank you for the great information. I was wondering if your mortgage company, or maybe one of the companies you work with, if you can broker, offers what they call a bank statement loan for small business owners. So you're basically qualifying them based on their income
Yes.
coming
Absolutely.
in.
Yep. So Sam, we have a bank statement loan program that could be either from their business bank account, or a lot of solopreneurs will just have a personal bank account, and that is just fine too. So with the business or personal bank statements, we look at 12 to 24 months. So if they do have long-standing, 24 months could give them a little bit of a bonus in the interest rate, because they have longevity there. But most of the programs just look at 12 months. And then they take 50% of the deposits. Because think about this, the other 50% is going to go towards, you know, running your business, cost of doing business, taxes, all of those other things. So we can use 50% of those deposits as income. And I will tell you, there is a hard and fast rule that we cannot go above 45% debt ratio. So if somebody has a whole lot of debt, it could be problematic, but if they have reasonable debt, then yes, absolutely. So I'll make sure to put in my contact information here so I can see how I can help your client for sure.
Okay. And in terms of the debt, does being behind on your child support payments, for example, like 22,000, how does that factor into the debt, or does it not?
It could. It's going to depend on how that's being reported. It's likely already showing up as a collection account on their credit report. And if it's not,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yes,
yeah.
it is.
So we're going to use that as a payment, obviously. And if they are in arrears, we're likely, my best guess of what the underwriter is going to do is use the payment factor from that collection account. So when it's a collection and if a payment is not stated, we typically multiply that outstanding balance by 5% and hold that payment against them. And if this person is still on the hook for, and needing to be paying child support, we're also going to hold the regular child support payment against them. So that might be a double whammy that might put them in a place that's not comfortable, but I'm happy to run numbers with them. And just, loose numbers. We don't have to pull credit and do loan applications. We can just run some loose numbers, see if it's going to work for them. If not, we've got our answer. We can figure out what to do to create a better plan to help them get there. And guys, we have a 1099 loan program too. So most realtors are 1099. We can use 90% of your 1099 income. So if you do a really good job of hedging your income from paying taxes, we've got a great 1099 program where we can use 90% of that as your income. So it's a great loan program as well. Okay, you got another question. Let's go.
Hi, I just want to take a moment to thank you for watching a recording of the Monday Night Live class. Hope you're getting a lot out of it. I'm sure you will. I wanted to let you know that, you can come to Monday Night Live whenever you want, but you can also participate more with the team. Why don't you set up a call with me, a one-on-one strategy call? I can go over everything with you, show you everything that we have to offer. For example, did you know that on our team, not only do you get your leads, we actually give you your own account on our lead gen system. So this puts you in control. You're not waiting on somebody to hand you leads. You get to pick the ones you want. Okay. Huge difference. We have 21 of our own proprietary marketing campaigns. They're all copyright protected. We're the only ones that can use them. Okay. The coaching is absolutely one-on-one. We got 3 coaches. We even have a 4th success coach that we have access to. Okay. One of left fewer than 100 in the world. Okay. One-on-one coaching. Right now the big problem is volume. We need more transactions. We need more inventory. I get it. Well, we know how to get it. Our team actually outproduces the national average by more than 2 to 1. So if you're struggling, don't do that anymore. If you're a solo agent, if you're a team, let's just talk. Smart entrepreneurs are always open to discussion. Learn what we have to offer, and then you can make an informed decision about staying where you are or moving on. You got to decide, if you're not where you want to be, you've got to take action to get where you want to be. Let's see how we can help you do that. I look forward to talking to you. Click on the link, set up a call. And by the way, I'll see you on the next Monday Night Live.
Christy,
Yeah.
is that 1099 income over a 2-year period also?
We most of my lenders are looking at 1 year. They want you to be in the business for 2 years, but we're just looking at the last 1 year.
Right.
Some of them will look at 2 years. I will tell you this: if it's declining, say 23 income is declining from 22, then we just don't even provide 22. We're just going to go off the 23 anyway.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
My
they do want you to
question
be in the
was
business for 2 years.
a political one. If the Republicans win, do we think rates will go down? And if the Democrats win, do we think the rates will go up? I'm just curious.
Gary, take it away.
Well, I was trying to remember who. Oh, I know what it was. Today, I decided I'm voting for PF for president. Pedro for
PF?
president.
Okay,
Pedro.
good.
He's in the class tonight. There's his T-shirt right there.
I was gonna say, we got the t-shirts.
Yep. Yep. There you go. Vote for Pedro. Oh, but typically, if rates are high in an election year, the administration that's in power wants to lower rates. So you can pretty much rest assured they're going to push for lower rates. Now, with what's happening in the marketplace, it's more of a justifiable cause. They don't need an administration breathing down the Fed's neck to lower rates in the banks. They already know they need to do it. You know, the writings on the wall. You know, the job reports have been heading south. Nothing to be afraid of, guys, but it's just not what they wanted. 3 times in a row, 3 months in a row, right? The new jobs creations is down. So that sees the you know the consumers or the people that are in the market see that as a softening of the U.S. market. And when the rest of the world sees that, that's why they react. That's exactly what happened today.
Reaction.
But I'm pretty sure you're going to see a rate drop, possibly two, just because rates had jumped up so much. I mean, I will tell you this, you know, it's not just the Democrats, it's not just the Republicans. If you think about when the pandemic hit, right, the first economic program that came out was during the Republican administration. The second one was during the when the Democrats took over. And anything subsequent to that, I do think they went too far. My personal opinion. I think after they've extended unemployment benefits, they were just basically giving too much money away. They should have stopped. They didn't need to do the I think it was the employee retention program. That was totally unnecessary. Did it help people? It sure did, but it wasn't enough to justify the cost to the economy. If they'd have just put the lid on that, we might not have the inflation the way we had it. But they did because that's what they want to do. They feel like if they can do that, it warms more people up to their administration. And they both do it. You can't just say it's
Okay.
just the left or just the right. They all do it. But that's what happened. So, but lately it has more to do with the job reports. And the job reports have gone the other direction the last 3 months in a row. That's all it was. So I think you're going to see rates go down in the fall once, maybe twice. And if there's no change in the administration, right, it's almost like you got an incumbent coming in. Okay, even though it's not an incumbent, the fact is, you know, if people view it that way, and policy wise, it's probably going to be that way. So I'm not saying you're going to see rates drop any more after the election. What I think you're going to see is more tax-based programs coming out, um, which will take money out of the money supply. When you look at M1 and M2, whenever we spend too much money, whenever the government has too many programs, it takes money out of supply. That absolutely affects the economy. You know, people have been really big on this Keynesian economics the last, generation. I don't buy it. I'm sorry, I just don't because it doesn't actually solve the root problems. All it does is kick the can down the street. That's all Keynesian economics does, and it causes inflation. Okay, I'm not an economist, but I studied economics, and I've been around long enough to see 5 business cycles, and I can tell you when you do that type of program, it doesn't actually solve the problem, it just prolongs it. So you're going to see more of that. If the administration changes, you're probably going to see lower taxes. You're going to see more money going back into the hands of businesses and consumers to vote with their dollars, right? That's the big difference. It's not like a giant difference. In other words, the impact one from the other. It's not like it's the total extreme catastrophic type difference type things, guys. It's just not true. It both things will work. It just depends on which way you think works better long term and better short term. One party focuses more on let's just get throw money at it, get through the problem now, kick it down the field. The other party likes to take the hit. Let's get through this and get back to economic stability when it comes to taxes and inflation and interest rates and so forth. So, now having said all that, as soon as I say something like that, something else is going to change. Who's ever seen that before? As soon as you think you know what's going on, something else happens. So at the end of the day, this is my personal opinion. This is what I suggest when people ask me personally. My suggestion is you keep a lid on your expenses. I'm not saying don't go out and have fun and don't live. Absolutely. But you know what? You got to determine if something's a necessity or something's just a nice to have kind of thing. And how, if the economy does go down, how are you going to feel about all those nice to have things that you just spent money on? you know. Now, I'm not a doomsday person. I'm a practical person. You know, I have no debt, and I like my life that way after a lifetime of being in debt.
Mhm.
I'll tell you, I sleep at night really well, you know. So I really don't care so much about which way the economy goes. I just want to know which way the economy is going because then I can be strategic on what I invest in. Am I going to invest in real estate? Am I going to invest in growth stocks? Am I going to invest in something conservative like utility companies? Okay. That's why you want to know what the economy is doing. But if you're able to, you know, maximize your income and minimize your expenses, you should be doing that anyways. Don't, you know, I know I'm getting kind of preachy here, but I got to know my grandparents very well, thank goodness. And they were born and raised during the Spanish flu,
Mm.
the World War One, the Great Depression, World War II. They've seen all kinds of stuff, you know. And one side of my family, it made them very frugal. They were very well to do and they had fun, but they were frugal. They knew when to save, they knew when to invest, and when knew not to spend. They knew when to spend. My other side of my family, complete opposite. They didn't have a clue. They were living paycheck to paycheck, employees getting W-2 type income, you know, relying quote unquote, you know, the pension's going to take care of me, the government's going to take care of me. And at the end of the day, the ones that are on that side of the family died broke. You know, they were happy, but they were broke. The other side of the family, they were happy and they were not broke, you know. I mean, they created trust funds and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, what it comes down to is learning how money works. Chris has given you a lot of good tips tonight, you know, websites you can check out, you know, Fred, the St. Louis Federal Reserve District. You don't have to be an expert in economics, guys. A lot of it's just common sense. You know, if you spend too much money, you're going to have inflation and you're going to have less money. Your money's going to be worth less. If you just be a little bit frugal, plan for have one eye on today, one eye on tomorrow. Have fun today, but plan for your future. It's the people that do not plan for the future that end up struggling in the later years. And I've seen that too. It's not fun. Okay. So just do those things. You'll be okay. If you do your part and you influence your family members, especially your children, you know, be a role model for them, be a good custodian with the money that God gives you, right? Learn to be responsible for it. Be a good custodian. That's the best thing you can do. You know, the rest will take care of itself. And then whatever economic philosophy you believe in, vote for that party, you know? So they're both going to work, you know? I mean, in the 90s, Bill Clinton was the president. The 90s were some of the best years economically we've ever had. Republicans hate to hear that, but it's true. You know, you take the 80s, Reagan economics, the Democrats called it voodoo economics, actually pulled us out of one of the worst economic times we've ever had in the 70s. Okay. It created a lot of wealth in the country. So who's right and who's wrong? I don't know. They both worked. You just got to choose which one's right for you when you vote. But personally, I suggest you study money and learn how it works. If you don't, the money's you're going to control you as opposed to the other way around. In any case, that's all I know about money. So
Amen, brother.
there you go. And vote for Pedro. Vote for
Yes.
PF, man. Yep.
Can I?
There you go. There'll be celebrations every weekend. You know, everybody only have to work a half a day.
I know, I like it.
Yeah. So, hey, Sam, go ahead, buddy.
Oh, Jen, I was ready.
Real quick, first of all, I'm working with clients right now that are very.
Now your volume went completely out. I'm sorry. Sam, while she's figuring that out, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So listening to you with your economics speech there, Gary, it sounds like people shouldn't be going into selling their house and getting a new mortgage because that's an expense.
Well,
they're going to go into debt with a new mortgage. Why you're it's almost like you're telling us not to buy up in a way.
Well, no,
because we're going to end up in debt.
to be responsible, to be frugal, be responsible, not to never. I said I didn't say don't have fun. Definitely have fun. But as far as someone refinancing their home and moving up, that's always a personal choice. That's a case by case basis. You know, if somebody comes to me for economic advice, I'm first of all, I'm not an economist, I'm not an accountant, I'm not an attorney. You know, I used to be a banker, but I'm not anymore. But to me, I would just look at the numbers. I've done that before for my family members. I would say, let's look at do you have a balance sheet? Most people do not have a financial statement. Guys, I'm telling you, one of the best things you could ever do for yourself is Google personal financial statement. Download one and fill it out. Income expenses up top, asset liabilities at the bottom. When I look at that, I can read the story. I can see the ratio of income to expenses. I can see the ratio of assets to liabilities. And if someone's in a solid position to move up and it's a good move, I'm going to tell them I think this is a good move. But if they're strapped, they got way more. Their debt to income ratio is too high, and I can see they got all the consumer debt, and they borrowed against their home already to go on vacations and buy cars and stuff. I'm going to tell them is I do not think you should move up to a bigger house because all they're going to do, even if the bank allows that, they're not going to solve their problem. Their problem is they have poor economic habits. They need to solve that, and that'll create the mindset they need to be able to move up to the big house and not mess up the ratios. And by the way, my personal ratios are the same as the banks. I do not want more than 1/3 of my income being allocated to principal and interest payments. And on the asset liability side, I don't want to owe more than 2/3 of what I own. Okay, that's how I grew. Now I have no debt. I have zero debt. You know, my expenses are unbelievably low. You know, my biggest expense is taxes.
What do you
You know,
what do you
Yes.
say for people that are renting and wanting to get into buying a house? Are you going to also look at the fact that, they're going to be paying themselves as opposed to paying the landlord?
Yeah, but I can make the case for
Like,
people
are
renting. I've rented before.
you can,
You know?
okay, so
Yeah.
so you're not looking for a transaction. You're looking for the person being able to just live frugal. Is that the message I'm getting?
What I want everybody to be financially smart. You know, to know how money works, to be a good custodian with their money that they do have. Renting's not a bad thing. It might be the right thing for some people, might not be the right thing for other people. But I would still look at the financial statement and find out what is their income, expenses, asset, liabilities. And I mean, even Robert Kiyosaki says he can make the case for renting too. You know, so
A lot of
renting to
guys
me is
do right now. A lot of guys do that right now. Grant
absolutely.
Cardone, Grant Cardone
Yep.
talks about it. I don't people do or don't respect Cardone, but it makes a lot of sense. You know that
Yeah.
they don't want to own a property. They don't want to own a house. It's a liability.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Hey,
not an
Sam.
asset like people think.
That's
Yeah.
what
I
Robert
tell you,
Kiyosaki says too. I mean, a house
yeah,
is not an asset, it's a liability.
I think
it
Kiyosaki
is.
goes broke. He says he goes broke twice a year on purpose. That's
Yeah.
the runs his finances. You know,
Yeah. Well, the thing is if you think about a personal home, it, most people confuse what the definition of an asset. Robert Kiyosaki's definition is there's a difference between an asset and an income producing asset. Robert Kiyosaki focuses on income producing assets. So your personal home generally is not bringing you income. It
Right,
will add to your net worth over time as it appreciates. But every month you're paying interest on a mortgage. Typically, even if you don't have a mortgage payment, you're paying property taxes. You're paying
right,
gas, electric, water, sewage, maintenance, repairs, the whole 9 yards.
right.
So I would recommend, guys, if you have not read the Cash Flow Quadrant, one of my top 10 books, absolutely read the Cash Flow Quadrant. Read Rich Dad Poor Dad first because it's fun. It's an awesome book, and then
Yeah,
read
it
the
is.
Cash Flow Quadrant. You know,
All
um,
his books are good.
yeah, I've got like 27 Robert Kiyosaki books. I got to spend the day with him in 2015 at Lake
wow.
Tahoe. Had dinner with him and everything. And
That'd be
I'm telling
awesome.
you, Here's a way, Sam, here's a great thing, that a way, a philosophy to live by. Before you ever go out and buy what Robert Kiyosaki calls doodads, before you go buy a car is a doodad, right? It's not an income producing asset. There's a doodad. Before you buy anything that doesn't make you money, first buy something that makes you money. Whatever you can do. My first property, I didn't even buy a whole house. I bought half of a house with my college roommate. I bought half a house, 4-bedroom home. Sock and I rented out the other 2 bedrooms. Those guys' rents paid our mortgage payment, you know? Um, and that's how I lived my life ever since. My kids growing up, it was comical because we would plan the year. We're going to go to Mexico. We're going to go to Disney World. We're going to whatever. And they knew, they would always ask, well, what do we have to buy, Dad, before we can go to Disney World? And I would say, we have to buy a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, you know? And that's how I brought them up. They understood when we had Christmas, it was because we bought a duplex first, and a duplex paid for Christmas. We went to Mexico, we bought a duplex, and duplex paid for the trip to Mexico, you know? So
That's
the life isn't
different.
perfect.
But
What's
that's
that?
different. That's different though than what most kids are taught, right? And that's the whole
Oh, yeah.
point of like Robert Kiyosaki's books too, is that,
Yep.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is that, people are taught, as they're growing up, when they are, when they are in a position where they, learn financial what finances mean and what money means and how it works, etc. You're taught that you buy things to have the things that you want, and make sure that you have assets that produce income before you buy things that you want. And that's the difference between the rich and the poor, basically, or you're rich and middle class.
Wouldn't it be a much better lesson to teach us to take the money that you have, do something with that money to make other money with? That way, when I want a big screen television, I don't go out and buy it on credit, or I don't go out and go broke buying the TV. I take the money I have, I do something with that, move it around, make a profit, and use the profit to buy the TV. Now I've got the TV, I got the money I still had, and I got I got the other thing, the money I had to begin with, and I got my TV still. So
that's the idea.
Kiyosaki says that kind of stuff, and I appreciate his books too, because they're not written over your head. They can speak to the general lay person, and we just knowing those things and living that way is a different different conversation. I need to execute a lot of that in my life instead of not. But New Year, man.
And to that point, I like to throw in a word of caution. It's great to hear the slogans.
Right, the buzzwords.
I can go broke twice a year, but that's someone who has a whole department of accountants that knows he can oversee the finances and direct where things are going. But the management of the day-to-day of all that, that's when those of us who are writing our own ledger in the checkbook, we can get in trouble and not get out of the hole, because we want to get into debt in order to play the tax game, and then wham. So
definitely easier said than done, right?
Yeah, there's a slim line there, right? Yeah.
There really is. I just dropped in there a Google Doc that I have that is a really easy master net worth tracker, and it's super easy. It's a Google Doc, so hopefully log into your Gmail and hopefully you can grab that. And there's a tab down at the bottom that says start here, so start there. And we've done this for forever, and it's just fun to watch every single month, what can we do to push that thing up? Every month, what can we do? Even if it's just $1, I don't care. I want to keep on pushing it up and up and up.
Yeah. The other thing too, guys, is and I don't want to sound like an old fuddy-duddy here, but one of the things I did learn from my dad's side of the family, and we did this in bank when I was in banking too. Even though you could have the best intentions to, be a good custodian with the money that God gives you. You still, just like a car, should do an annual checkup. So every year you should do a budget. And by the way, Christy put in an attachment here, basic budget, to the Excel spreadsheet. I haven't even looked at it, but I'm pretty sure I know what it is. But in any case, what you do is you go through and you look at all your expenses, you map it out literally I would do a whole month chart, 30 days and all the across the top and all the expenses and the income are down the side on the left, the rows. And I would map it out and I would look at the end of the year and say, looking for the patterns. What are the things that I really don't need? That I get anything out of it? That I get any pleasure out of it? That it's just like, what am I doing that for? And cut it out. And you'd be surprised at how $10 here will add up and $20 there will add up, right? But also what it does is it shows you where you might be able to generate more revenue. Okay. Maybe you got a duplex that has a garage out back that's just sitting there, or you're letting your tenants have it for free. You know, turn that garage into a separate rental. You might only get $200 a month out of it, but that might be enough to pay for Christmas. Okay. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Take care of yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to add to you what you were saying.
Yeah.
What I
Well,
wanted
listen to this. I do want to turn things back over to Christy, guys, because it's 8:23. And I tell you what, I think this is an excellent class to have. This whole subject about budget. Budget is not punishment. Budget is a plan for you to be wealthy and to stay wealthy, you know?
And I was going to say, part
yeah.
of that too is generational. If I can add that. I mean, you know, I think that there's a lot of us on here that were taught that because of our grandparents, because of people being in the wars, etc. And, you know, you kind of grow up learning about frugality. And, you know, no offense to younger people that might be on here, but, you know, I know even my kids, they look at things very differently. And, you know, they want everything now. And that's not how life is, you know. The entitlement is very different. The way they look at things is very different. You know, you work for things and you save for things and you buy things when the time is right, and, you know, and all of that. And anyway, I just wanted to add that because I think there's I think there's a huge generational gap as well with the way that we think. So I just wanted to add that about budgeting.
I think, can you guys hear me yet?
Yep.
We can hear you now. Yay!
Yay!
There's an update and my computer's acting funny. But first, there's two things I'd like to say. First, be prepared to answer those questions. I'm working with an extremely intelligent wealth management gal, her and her husband, and they're buying a home, and even if they're in wealth management, they still want questions. You know, we wrote that we were going to do this into the offer to purchase. We're thinking of changing from a 15 to a 30-year just because we want more liquidity, because this is a vacation home and blah, 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 and knowing the economy and interest rates. So just be prepared, not be the expert for the mortgage, but be prepared to answer those questions. And more importantly, say, these are the questions you're going to want to ask your lender, just so that you're gearing them towards the right direction. And then the second thing that I really am excited to say is I've gone extensively through Christy's program and looked it over just because I was really excited, because not that I'm a new agent, but when you're onboarding agents, if you can give them a head start and have them simultaneously go through something while they're getting their licensing structured, they can also do her program. It makes your job so much easier, depending on if they're front facing and in the office with you versus across the ocean, whoever you're working with. You utilize her as really a huge opportunity to get those agents on track and up to speed, because the quicker they can get on to speed, the quicker they're going to add to your downline, and the more they make money and the more they tangibly understand the income potential, the more they're going to exponentially repeat, rinse and repeat. So I'm just going to put a plug in for Christy there because I love her to death. She's a huge asset to have in anybody's arsenal of agent connections and network. And I'm just thrilled to give her the kudos.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. Thank you. So friends, I did put my contact information in the chat box, and what she's referring to is buildanagent.com. I'm just launched a program to teach newer realtors how to do this business because we're just not taught it in our pre-licensing class. And so it really focuses on the strategies and tactics, but also all of the soft skills, negotiations, overcoming objections, building rapport, sales mastery, all the things. And it's $47 a month with no contract. So have at it, go crazy like Janai did and go check out all the things, but it's self-paced, it's video led. There's a lot of checklists and guides and all of those kinds of things. I want to make sure that I am a resource for you for anything inside of this beautiful industry of ours. So let me just rattle off a couple of things. I've written a few books. I've got my third book in editing right now. My first book is for first-time home buyers. It's on Amazon. So you've got my name. If you were to just put my name in the search box for Amazon, both of my books will show up. The first one is for first-time home buyers, and it really addresses like the mental part of it. Am I ready to buy a home? And it helps them work through all those questions to help them get off the fence and ready to go. If you've got people who just love details and they just want, hours and hours of consultations from you before they move forward on something, tell them to go buy this book. That'll save you hours of your life. So it's called First Home, Where to Start and How to Win. The second book is called Finish Financially Free. And you might have to scroll up a little bit here. I'm pretty sure I entered my information. Yeah, all the way up. It was all the way back at 808. So you'll have to scroll back up on the chat box and it's there. Finish Financially Free. The last couple of chapters is all about building wealth through real estate. So financial advisors love it. Realtors love it. It makes a great gift for somebody who is trying to learn and understand money and use it as a tool. If you or anybody in your life wants to know about credit, the number one reason for mortgage denials is insufficient credit. So I have a podcast called Credit Coaching by Christy, and it's usually 10 to 15 minutes an episode. There are no commercials in it. I don't make a dime. This is my ministry. I just know that we have got to do a better job in this industry, helping people obtain the information they need so that they can have the resources and tools and help get them to where they want to be. Even investor loans, you have to have the higher end of a 600 credit score in order to even get a decent interest rate or even be considered. The lower the rate, the larger the down payment. In a lot of cases when you are financing investment loans through a lender, broker, or bank. Private money typically doesn't care, but they also want a ton of money down and they're going to charge you for that risk that's involved. My third book that I just wrote, and it's in editing, I'm still working on a title, but it's for people who are considering going into investing in real estate. So I talk about turning your primary home into a rental and just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. There's a calculation in there to see how much your net worth would be over the years. I talk about the BRRRR method. I think we all know that. The buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. So I do talk about the basics there. And then some of the different kinds of loan programs out there. I'd mentioned a fix and flip for investors. What's super cool is it's 20% down payment, but the renovation portion is completely paid for. It's 100% of the renovation. And it's a short-term loan just to renovate and sell, fix and flip. We've got ground up construction. So you can get a construction loan. It does have to go through a general contractor. You can't build it yourself, but we've got ground up construction. We've got DSCR. We've got that bank statement loan program, the 1099. I've even got a profit and loss statement. We do have to have it signed by an accountant, but if all we can do is show a profit and loss, we've even got a loan program for that. So all different kinds of commercial lending. I'd love to connect with you and let's have a conversation about your scenario on LinkedIn. Biweekly, I do a newsletter. So if we connect on LinkedIn, please do subscribe to my newsletter. Then it will get dropped in your email. It's once every 2 weeks. And I take a lot of data from NAR. I do talk a lot about Orlando Regional Realtor Association because that's where I'm at. But it's also a great pulse of what's going on. Think about it being such a transient area and highly sought after. Florida is very highly sought after. So I think it's a good metrics of seeing what's going on with the pulse. And if you know of any newer realtors, I just started a YouTube channel and it's called The Struggle is Real Estate. So I've got some short videos in there that that can help you out. So I just want to be a resource for you. I love teaching.
The struggle
That's right.
is real.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Estate
Yeah.
and fun.
Yeah. Well, Christy, thank you again for sharing all these shared on that, guys. If you want to go through the chats real quick, there's the download for the basic budget Excel spreadsheet. There's a couple of the links that both Gina and Christy have put in there. Planning, online planning forms. I mean, pick what works for you. It just pick one and just start using it. I promise you, knowing what's coming in and what's going out, like intuitively about your finances gives you power. Information gives you power. Then you can make informed decisions. You don't have to wonder and guess or just spend blindly. I mean, I could go on and on, but I know people personally that I call them financially unconscious. They're just spending unconsciously. They don't have a clue, and they're always struggling. They wonder why they're always struggling. And some people I know my whole life, I try to talk to them. I've given them books to read. They just won't do it, and their circumstances never change. You know, so you got to be the change. It's a success is an inside job. But in any case, guys, I'm going to do one more little chat here and I'll send you. I've been getting a lot of questions, of course, this week and last week about the NAR case and buyer agency, commission splits and all that. There is an email from Leo Pareja. Okay. It's in all of our emails. Just look for the name, read it. I think there's a video you can watch. You can go to workplace or go to the water cooler chat workplace page and just you can search by subject. There's a little magnifying glass, the search bar. Just put in there NAR NAR case, commission. How do we do commissions now? Buyer agency. There's so much content out there. And by the way, other brokerages are sending their people to us. You can see this publicly online, on Facebook, YouTube. These other brokerages are saying EXP already has this figured out. Go get their forms. That's what they're telling them. I'm seeing this happen live on social media. We're leading the pack, leading the whole charge here. You guys have it at your disposal. You just got to go look for it. I mean, people aren't going to call you up and tell you this from EXP. They're putting it out there on the platforms that we have available. And one of them is Workplace. I suggest you use Workplace on a regular basis and your email. Don't just ignore those EXP emails. There's a lot of valuable content there, and particularly Leo Pareja. So check it out so you're informed, you know what to do. By the way, show of hands here. Who here knew that EXP now has a universal sales agreement that transcends all states? Do you guys know that? Just came out. Yep. So you got to be aware. I know it's a lot going on, but keep looking at Workplace. Go out there, read the emails, especially when it's from a guy like Leo. Really important stuff. We're going to go over that again next week in the monthly team meeting, but I want you to have it now because right now is you need to know it. You can't wait. If you get something under contract or get a listing, you got to know this stuff. Okay. So, okay. Thanks again, Christy. Thanks, Gina, for making this happen. By the way, I've got wonderful news for you. Next week, Anna Galumian's teaching. Okay. And Gina will be on again. I should be here. I'm driving back from a family reunion in South Carolina. We should be back plenty of time, but I don't want to I want to make sure Gina was lined up just in case. So plus she's the pay's good. She doesn't ask for a whole lot of money when I ask for these things.
Do I get a double my salary from zero for you?
There, yes, you can double it, quadruple it, in fact.
Thank you, sweetie.
But I should be here, and then the following week, Deb Warner. Okay, that's the 12th, the 19th, Deb Warner. 26th, I'll be on. We're going to talk about really flow in a big way. It's working for people. If you're not using it, start using it. I'm going to go through it in detail with you on the 26th. I'm going to show you how you can help use it to attract people too. I've been doing that, and it's working. You don't have to worry about LinkedIn, Indeed. You don't have to work calling people. None of that nonsense. Okay, this is attracting people that are wanting to do what you're doing. Okay, and getting them access to one of our tools to do it. So, I mean, I don't know if I can make it any easier for you than that. So we'll talk more about that. But thanks again, Christy. Thank you guys for participating. God bless you and your loved ones. We'll see you on your one-on-ones. I am off this Thursday and Friday for the family reunion. And Monday's a travel day back. And I'll see you, if not on one-on-ones, I'll see you next Monday night.
Thank you for watching this episode of Monday Night Live. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.